to the Real Estate Minute. I'm Lexi, and I'm here today with Michael Shuster, our real estate expert. I was wondering, can the seller keep the deposit if a buyer doesn't close the deal? Specifically, what if a buyer backs out of a firm deal?
You gotta hate when that happens. Deposits are a very interesting part of a real estate transaction. First of all, no, nobody can just assume that they keep anything. Just to shed a little bit more light on this, first of all, deposits, when you make an offer to purchase a house or a condo or a property, you need to give a deposit in order to have a legally binding offer. However, and I want to bring this up before I get to the rest of the answer, is because I've had a lot of buyers lately say, what if we make an offer and we give a deposit and then we don't waive our conditions? Do we get our deposit back? So I want to make sure that we're very clear. When you provide a deposit with your offer, and the offer is conditional on financing, conditional on inspection, or conditional on any other number of things, in the agreement it says, and it is clearly upheld, that if the deal does not firm up, if you do not waive the conditions, you as a buyer absolutely get your deposit back in full without any deductions. However, your question asked if there's a firm deal. If the buyer's already waived conditions and you now have a legally binding contract, I've heard a lot of scenarios where if the buyer can't close or suggests that they may not be able to close, the sellers say, well, that's okay. We'll keep the deposit and we'll sell again. It's not quite that simple, unfortunately. I've even had a case where we sold a house in multiple offers and the seller chose to take an offer that was the same price, but the deposit was substantially higher. And I said, but I'm concerned this person won't close, whereas the other offer, I know the buyers can close on the deal. He said, yeah, but it's a larger deposit. I'll just keep it. I had to warn him, that's not how it works. You see, if a buyer can't close, the seller technically has the right to sue them. In fact, anybody can sue anybody if they want. The question is, what is your time worth? What are your legal costs, and will you win? But you cannot keep the deposit unless a court order says that you've been awarded to keep that. Now, generally, here's what'll happen. First of all, it'll take a year or two in court. Second of all, what the judges will look for is, did you try to resell your property? Because they want to avoid clogging the court system. So if you tried to sell the property first, we'd have to try and sell the property. Now, if we sold the property for less money than the first deal because the market changed, you could sue for the difference. But that's a whole legal conversation. In this type of market where everything keeps going up and up and up, we would sell your house most likely for more in 3 weeks or 2 months than we did originally. So if you go to a judge and say, hey, they didn't close, but we got more money, the judge isn't going to say you can keep their deposit. What will happen is the deposit will go back to the buyer who unfortunately did not honor the first agreement, and you'll end up with a little bit of inconvenience, but selling probably for more money to someone else. So no, you should never assume you can keep a deposit if the buyer doesn't close the deal. It has to go to court. There has to be a court order. And there are other things that realtors will do to help you minimize the inconvenience and the costs.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for stopping by the Real Estate Minute. If you guys have any questions for Michael Shuster, you can contact him directly.